Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Forced a Gas Agency to Change Their Telephone Directory. No. This happened many years back. Living in a developing country, we don't have gas connections for our stoves, so have to rely on a pretty reliable network of gas agencies which supply cylinders. And this was long enough back when mobile phones did not exist, was not widely prevalent, so telephone directories were still a thing. For the uninitiated, telephone directories are books containing all the names and phone numbers of the people living in the immediate vicinity. Our local gas agency was on the directory and so was my home no. The problem was, the agency's no and mine were switched, so, a person calling them after looking up the dir would call our home. And 14-year-old me would have to explain the mix-up and give them the actual no. This carried on for months. I had called the agency and asked them to get the no corrected but to no avail. Keep in mind this was a busy agency and my home phone would ring sometimes many times a day followed by me explaining. After a couple more months of this going on, I got fed up and decided to start working at the agency. So, agency calls don't have much convo and go like this. Customer. Hello, K3478, customer no, agency. Okay, we'll send. Delivery no 7634, works like an OTP. Following are the actual, translated to English, conversations that happened in the months that followed. Customer 1. Hello, L5285 me. Okay, your no is 8264. Customer 2. Hello M-8364 me. Okay, your no is 1234, we will deliver today itself. After a couple of months of me diligently doing this, the directory got corrected with their updated phone no. The next story is titled Not Even the Right Store. Back in August of 2021, right before the start of the college semester, I was browsing around a local resale store for the heck of it, despite the fact I had $5 in my account. As I browsed the desks and large furniture, a older, frizzled gray-haired woman approached me with a cheap-looking tablet in her hand. Our interaction went as followed. Her. This damn phone won't work. Me. After realizing she was talking to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you try talking to the store you bought it from to get that fixed? Her. Well, I went to gadget shop at the mall and bought this tablet phone. It cost me $70, isn't that ridiculous? Me, in my thoughts and invested in this woman's situation for some reason. Oh great, she probably got scammed or wasn't even educated by the salesman. Me. That sounds like a cheap price, honestly it might not be a good quality. Her. Have you ever even had a tablet? Me. No, not since I was 13. Her. Wow, I cannot believe this. Well, thanks for no help. And then she proceeded to huff away, leaving me confused and honestly, a little bit hurt. The next story is titled Getting Chased in the Hardware Store. For reference, I'm AFAB, 19, and have very recognizable hair. To set the scene, it's almost 7 a.m. I had just finished working the graveyard shift at Midwest Cult gas station. Context. We wear light blue uniform shirts with the logo on the left side and black pants. I decided to head over to Midwest Hardware Store. More context. They wear deeper blue and black uniform shirts and black pants with blue aprons, for a good wander before I headed to the gym. Wanted to look at paint colors and toys. I decided to pop over by the Hall of Lights to satisfy my brain with all the bright colors lol. As I am heading back toward the main aisle, I am stopped at the end of the side aisle I was walking down. There was an old man walking past, so I stopped to let him walk on by, then he, himself, had stopped. Hey, where are your object he was looking for? I had forgotten, he had asked. Sorry, I work at Midwest Cult gas station, I replied and sped away. I hate confrontation and didn't want to experience any of the possible results there could be. Infinite possibilities of entitled people rushed through my brain and I wanted to be away from that man. What happened next was something I wish I never had experienced. It was terrifying. The old man decided to follow me. As I rush away, going down random aisles and whatnot, I spy a larger aisle full of staff, which I go down, hoping that he would ask an actual staff member instead of continuing his chase on me. I run down towards large kitchen appliances and then race around to their small grocery section, this old man hot on my heels. I make eye contact with a worker stocking the shelves. She saw me then glance at the old guy and then jog away toward the back area where they keep all the ladders, the Midwest hardware store behind the paint section. I had finally lost him. At this point in time, I am having a panic attack and remove my face mask to catch my breath while keeping an eye out for this old man. I was shaking and texting my friends frantically with what had just happened. Now, looking back on this situation, which happened yesterday, January 14, 22, I think the old guy may have not heard me properly, but I was literally panicking, so logic was not on my brain. This was one of the scariest situations I've ever had, and getting out of the store was so tense. Every old guy the first saw made my heart rate go up. Most of the older guys I saw were workers, which was great, but I got out of there after buying something random. I would have felt bad if I didn't buy anything. But yeah. One of my worst experiences in Midwest hardware store. The next story is titled "Neighbor Continues to Park in My Car Space So I Scare the Living Crap Out of Him." I live in a 20-unit complex, but only half of us have assigned parking spaces, me being one of the lucky ones. My car space is right next to my front door, and there is a sign that clearly states that the car space is allocated to my unit number. But this doesn't stop some of my neighbors or their guests from parking there. A new person had only recently moved in when he started parking in my spot, usually for most of the day and occasionally overnight. I confronted him and asked him to not park there, as he didn't have assigned parking and was required to park on the street. When this request was ignored, I went to the landlord, who sent him out a letter. When this too was ignored, I thought of a petty revenge plan. He would park there around the same time in the afternoon, and when he would leave his car there overnight, he would leave around noon the next day. He was entitled but predictable. When I was a kid, I read books about practical jokes like putting double-sided tape on the toilet seat or baby powder inside a powdered donut. This book brought me hours of joy by pranking my friends and my well-deserved entitled mother. While thinking of my plan, one of those jokes came to mind. So I went shopping to find what I needed. A roll of industrial-strength double-sided tape and a huge roll of bubble wrap, the ones with the really big bubbles. Now all I had to do was wait until he left his car parked in my spot overnight, which didn't take long. I asked another neighbor if he'd like to be my partner in crime, and as soon as I told her what I was planning, she was all in. There are lights outside the unit complex at night so we could see what we were doing, but they aren't bright enough to expose us. In the cover of moonlight, we put double-sided tape all over the back tires of his car and proceeded to stick the bubble wrap in multiple layers on the back of each wheel. We wedged even more bubble wrap between the back of the front wheels and the car so that when he reversed his car, there would be even more bubble wrap he'd be driving over. The back bumper of his car was hiding most of the bubble wrap, so it was very unlikely that he would notice anything out of the ordinary. I have surveillance cameras outside of my unit with a large monitor inside, and one of the cameras points directly at the car park, so I had a direct view of his car. The next day I kept an eye out for him, and sure enough, around noon I saw him walking to his car. Brilliant. He started his car, and as he reversed out of my car space, there was the loudest and most deafening banging sound I've ever heard. The noise was so loud that I could hear it clear as day from inside my unit. I heard him scream and saw him duck down, as if the sound of gunfire was real. It took him a few minutes to get out of his car to investigate what made the noise, and when he did, all I could hear was him shouting inaudible sentences with multiple swear words thrown in for good measure. The other neighbors came outside to see what was going on, as did I. Me. Faking concern. OMG, what happened? Neighbor. Who the heck did this? Me. I have no idea. I'm in a wheelchair and couldn't possibly be capable of doing such a horrible thing. He spent the next few hours trying to get the bubble wrap off his tires, and remember when I said the tape was industrial strength? I'd gone out of my way to find tape that would not come off easily. Eventually he got it off, but for the next few days his car made that sound like when you get chewing gum stuck under your shoe. He never parked in my car space again. The next story is titled "Didn't Know Enough About Power Tools." A few years back I was at a big hardware chain store buying a power tool. I'm an electrician and I'm dressed like it. Now, employees in this place wear high-vis yellow, but so do a good portion of those coming in to buy stuff, like me. I'm undecided on the make of tool I want, so I'm reading up on the differences between a few, and an older guy next to me asks a question about his choice. Guy, are the blades for this compatible with the Ryobi ones? Me, just thinking he thinks I might know, don't know. What does the packaging say? It should have a list of blade codes it uses. Guy, what code am I looking for? Me, no idea, mate, back to browsing. Guy, that's not good enough. Me, still looking down at what I'm doing, replied jokingly, yeah. I've failed you. Guy, raising his voice, well, why don't you find out? I look up and scowl, what? Piss off. Find it yourself. Guy throws the tool onto the shelf and storms off. I think, what a tool, and go back to what I'm doing. A few minutes later I hear a voice a few meters away. Store manager, he doesn't work here. That's a customer. I look up and Guy is standing all puffed up with a manager in tow, and I immediately realize that he thought I worked there and was trying to get me in trouble. I've worked in retail in my younger days and still carry some residual resentment toward customers, so my response just came out automatically. I looked at him and in the most disdainful soft tone just said, dickhead, and went back to browsing. The reaction from the two of them was quick but satisfying. The manager is pushing down a grin, the old guy deflates and looks utterly mortified. I'd feel bad, but the staff in those places aren't paid enough to have to deal with people getting them in trouble. The job sucks. Don't make it suck more. The next story is titled She Actually Praised Me at My Store. I worked at department store in the mid-90s. We had to wear a red vest. This is relevant later. On my way home after work one day, I remembered that I forgot to pick up a few things. I stopped at a different department store. It was winter and I did not feel like taking my coat off to take my vest off, so I just zipped up my coat and went in. I was doing some shopping when a lady approached me and asked where something was. I said I don't work here and she pointed to my belly. I looked down and part of my vest was showing. I unzipped my coat and showed her what company I worked for. She was embarrassed, smiled, and asked if I could help her. I was tired from working and said, fine, and took her to what she wanted. She thanked me, took my name, and said she would let my manager know next time she was at my store. I wrote it off as her just backpedaling as her way to end her embarrassment. Fast forward 2 weeks. My manager approached me and asked if help someone at X. I told her what happened and my manager was as shocked as I was and thanked me for stealing a customer from the competition. The next story is titled Be Aware of What is Attached to Your Person. I just read through a bunch of stories, so I thought I'd share a couple. Nothing crazy, no Karens, but funny to me. Back in the late 90s, I worked for a healthcare company in Atlanta. Our dress code was button down, button up, shirt, slacks and leather shoes. One lunch break, I ran into a Kroger to grab some lunch. I got distracted in the freezer section and I kept hearing someone say, "Excuse me." I turned around and it's a little old lady talking to me. I said, "Hi," and then she asked me to retrieve something from on top of the freezers. I politely told her I didn't work here. Then she asked me why I was wearing a badge. I look at my shirt and realize I'm wearing a blue badge which looks very similar to the blue Kroger badges. I helped her out by finding an actual Kroger employee. Fast forward to 2018 and I'm doing the weekend dad fix crap in my house. I run to Home Depot to quickly grab something I needed. I'm in the irrigation section and I hear the voice, "Excuse me." I turn around and it's a lady asking me to help her cut some PVC pipe. I tell her that I don't work here and she says, "Why do you have a measuring tape attached to your belt?" Well, I had been measuring crap all day at home and I guess I forgot to take it off. I helped her find a real employee. We laughed about that one. The next story is titled I Forgot That I Don't Work Here. A few years ago I used to work at a large grocery store in my hometown. I worked there for about a year before I had to quit due to a very abusive manager, but overall I enjoyed the experience. I was a clerk and cashier whose job varied between customer service, cleaning, and general busywork around the building. Not long before Christmas last year I had a really bad bout of insomnia and I hadn't slept in about 36 hours, but I had to go to the store to buy some groceries for the week. I go to the store and I start looking around for what I need, but I am very, very tired and can hardly remember what I am looking for. I noticed that a woman was looking confused between her list and the shelves, and I politely asked her if she needed help with anything. I directed her to the product she needed in another aisle, and I also got it off of the shelf for her as she was quite short. I then helped another lady get something off of a high shelf, and at that point I sort of dazed out and I forgot that I didn't work there anymore. I proceeded to spend the next 3 hours doing my old job. I would help customers find things, I grabbed a broom and swept half the aisles, and I even did about a half-dozen cart runs to bring in shopping carts which, due to the snow, were thrown haphazardly around the lot wherever the customers were when they got done with them. Eventually I started bagging groceries for customers at one of the registers when the cashier, a newer person who did not work there when I did, noticed I was not wearing a uniform and bluntly asked me what the duck I was doing, and I really didn't have an answer for that. Eventually I just said to her, "Oh, right, I don't work here." The next story is titled The Wrong Suit. My wife reminded me of this incident today after breaking out laughing as we walked past the store, so I thought I would share before it faded into my memories once again. Background setting. When I was preparing to leave the military, there is a store that rhymes with Stacy's that was conducting a hiring program seeking to bring experienced officers into their corporate family as various types of managers. The program wound up getting cancelled, but before it did I was on a short list of 5 at the top for selection. As part of it I spent a couple days at one of their stores looking over how things ran in order to present a proposal to improve operations, a required part of the process. They actually wound up implementing mine even though the program was cancelled and I was not hired, which led to a personal dislike of the franchise as they basically stole my work with no credit given. Now, once out of the military I enjoyed being able to dress as I like, no uniform, and I would commonly go out in nice shoes, slacks, a button-up shirt with undershirt, a tie, and depending upon the weather, a jacket or blazer. A couple years after getting out of the army and after the program was cancelled, my wife wanted to price check some things she was looking to buy, so while she was tending to business I went wandering and browsing the store on my own. Now, former law enforcement gone military where I spent 17 years and had 3 deployments, I picked up a tail after just a couple minutes and quickly noticed her. She kept her distance as I meandered the shelves, and after a few more minutes was joined by another employee and then the assistant manager, whom I had met a couple years prior during the program. After a couple more minutes of browsing with them keeping a polite distance, I stopped and turned back to look at them, and the assistant manager, AM, stepped up, offer her hand, which I shook. "AM, it's so good to see you again. We were not expecting you until next week, but all the files are ready if you want to start the reviews early." Me, "I'm sorry, I think you have me confused for someone else. I didn't get hired by Stacy's." AM, suddenly looking embarrassed. "You're not the accounts inspector?" Me, "No ma'am. Just a bored husband wandering the aisles while my wife does some price comparisons." AM, "I'm so sorry. Please, enjoy," and off she went. I could hear her fussing at the original lady who started following me, but was doing my best to bite my tongue and not bust out laughing. I found my wife, told her what happened, and she nearly pissed herself laughing until able to tell me there were better prices elsewhere and that we should go. The next story is titled She Meant Well. I'm not 100% sure this fits here, and this isn't a story about me, but rather my mother. I just recently remembered this story and thought it might give someone a chuckle. The story takes place about a decade ago in an extremely Hispanic mall. My mother is a Mexican woman with black hair and caramel-like skin. My stepdad is a white man with blue eyes and brown hair. Funny enough, my half-brother came out looking just like his father. My mother was in her mid-20s at this Hispanic mall with my younger brother in a stroller window shopping. Suddenly a Hispanic woman in her mid-40s came up to my mother and said, "Hi, I used to be a nanny for many years. I just wanted to give you some advice. As a nanny, you need to be extremely gentle and careful with white people's children. The parents can be really sensitive, and sometimes plain out stupid." My mother, while attempting to process what this well-meaning woman had said, simply said thanks, smiled, and kept going about her day. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.